The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper, with Molly Robinson, Landrum Roberts. I'm Pat Smith. That's Coach Bill Clark. And Coach, what a great weekend. We had a lot of exciting basketball, but I got to go back to the Olympics. Landrum and I, we kind of geeked out for about 14 days of the Olympics. And I know you're a good American. You loved what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, obviously we're always pulling for America and any sport. I mean, all the obscure sports, but hockey, and we can go back to, and I think we may have mentioned that, but 1980, I was 11 years old. And remember, I turned down to get to go to a basketball game that night to sit there and watch it. You just remember where you were. Is this the best of the best? Obviously, we've talked about the Netflix, the Boys of 80 and the training and all the cool stuff. But, man, what a great game. I mean, I was running around. I had the grand boys there, so they got to be part of it. So, and I think I liked every post positive about, which was almost all of them. So great weekend, great game. Just the competition, overtime, all the things.
In the culture that we live in, and I know we can look at it professionally, but let's just take college sports. And unfortunately, with the transfer portal, it seems like it has become a me, individual. Yep. And sometimes to a point, I think we celebrate individualism as a country, as a society, maybe. But what was so great about yesterday, I don't know a whole lot about hockey.
Yeah.
But I love my country.
Yeah.
And just seeing all of the different shots, whether it was a bar in the state of Ohio, whether it was folks out in middle of nowhere, whatever, Western United States, seeing everybody, probably like a lot of people like me, not understanding, you get the concept of hockey, but you don't know the ins and outs and a lot of the jargon. But why were we cheering? Why did we wake up to watch a puck being dropped at 7 a.m. Central Time? Because we love our country, and we're proud of the young men and women who go out there and represent us. And that was so refreshing to see. It was almost like with all the negative we see, everybody being unified and pulling behind one cause. That was
As we say, that's what it's supposed to be.
Right?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, in regards to that, you being a coach, the thing that's also fascinating is over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of times, especially in the Olympics, whether originally it was the dream team back in basketball, but you had a bunch of millionaires playing hockey for both the United States and Canada. But you could tell just as much as we were celebrating those guys that are multimillionaires for the Canadians, they were upset.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that they were there playing for their country, from a coaching perspective, how difficult would that be to try to make sure that you had the right realm in regards to in that locker room of guys that had bought into the vision and checked their bank accounts at the door?
Well, I think, one, you got a sport that's tough and blue collar, and you can't really see who those guys are. I mean, I know you can see their face, but it's got a lot of football, especially football that we love, the team and the purity. But I think to represent their country and to talk about these guys, talk about that's a dream of theirs, even though they're pros and all those things, they picked them right. I mean, if you're talking about competing both teams, wow. Give Canada. That's what it's supposed to be about when you got two great teams. Obviously, if we go back to 80, everything, Russia, who they were, and their guys were pros, and we got a bunch of college kids, is what will never be topped. But that was close. But I think just how much they talked about their country, the purity of how big that was to them is what post that makes it even better to hear them talk.
And it's credit to us as a country of sport, let's say, because there's not a whole lot of sports on the world stage that we're not really good at or the best at.
Yeah.
And hockey was still one of those, and it's still Canada's.
Yeah.
But not this year. The best in the world represented there on the stage in Italy, U.S. men, U.S. women, hockey, and actually taking something, and we talked about it, the equivalent would be college football here.
Yeah.
University of Toronto comes down to Death Valley, Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night, knocks off LSU. Yeah. That'd probably be a pretty big deal, and that would probably hurt and sting a little. So just watching it and knowing the history of this country in hockey and the last time of significance was 1980.
Yeah.
Wow, what a special moment.
Well, we all pull for underdogs.
Yeah.
You know, and yesterday, you know, watching the game, I caught myself in the things I miss. You know, it was, you're not supposed to win. They've got advantages. Now, granted, we got, you know, it's not probably, you know, us and them now, not unlike 80, but to have an upset, everybody has to pull together. And then that end of you find a way. You find a way for people to pull together and fight for the celebration at the end. I mean, we could just put that on a reel right here and just show it, how they celebrated. And that's what I miss is those locker rooms after that, on the field and locker rooms after, wow, what you told us, how we did it as a coaching staff, as each other, man, you'd love to bottle that. And that's what I remember. That was my favorite. Like I said, I love the train, I love that, but that locker room after a win, especially those you weren't supposed to have, which we had a lot of those at UAB early on, you know.
You did. It was curious. We were kind of joking around before we came on the air about, you know, did you ever skate? Did you ever do anything as a kid, like ice skating or anything like that? Could you see yourself one day ever coaching hockey?
Yeah, I mean, I've said that I could see myself coaching. I wanted to play hockey. I just, you know, didn't skate enough. Skated some.
Not a lot of frozen ponds where you grew up,
no,
right?
No, you know, we'd go to some places, and then as an adult, I've gone, you know, up to Yellowstone and found ice rinks and some things like that. But I mean, those guys on the ice, it's unbelievable, you know, and just what they can do. And I tell you, you're seeing things now that they're doing they weren't doing. You know, this stopping and coming right back. And I was just the precision of those passes. Now, granted, these are pro guys, but it was just like, you know, what are you doing? You got 5 guys. They got 5 and you got 3.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
That alone, man, you talk about some defense, you know, and how they would align. And, the goalie's got this side and they're aligned where they don't block him and some things, just some subtle.
But how about the officials, too? Their skating has to be even more precise because their job is to stay out of the way, and you've got all of those guys, and they were talking about the speed of the game.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that was there beside the ice, inside the glass, and he said, I've never seen a hockey game played at the pace that we've seen here in the first few minutes.
And that's
so
what
you're
he
an
does.
official trying to
He was a pro
navigate.
and covers it. Yeah. And I thought the officials let them play.
Yeah.
You know, they called the things they needed to call. I mean, don't make a difference.
Are you upset that it wasn't a brawl? Like it was in the Four Nations Cup?
No, I love that.
But you know what? I did not realize that what it means. If you drop gloves and you're the instigator, you're immediately done.
Yeah.
So as much as the Kachuk brothers wanted to go and kill whoever their nemesis is, I love those guys. I love the brother combinations that we have on these teams. We need more of that. That they wanted to get after somebody, and it's almost like Coach Sullivan had to tell them, hey, remember, we need you.
When you go, like I did, you grew up with an older brother, and it's like I used to say, man, I'd be in there with all his friends, fighting them and whatever. But now when I got around my guys, I'm like, okay, I'm so used to dealing with somebody 2.5, 3 years older than me. And then I got Wyatt and Gatlin. You know, there they are. You know, I could see them. They're going to fight each other, but don't pick on one of them, and it'll be them two against somebody else.
Exactly. Somebody texted me yesterday during the game, and they were like going, man, can you believe how that household, the Kachucks, was growing up? And I just simply responded, poor mom.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the mom having to deal with all that?
Everything's getting broke. And, you know, but those two, what's so fun though is when, you know, how they'll get together and then somebody's getting their head hit in the back and they're just, I was watching a guy get punched. He just turned around to the guy. I guess that's just part of it.
Yeah.
If you're behind me, I'm going to expect you to punch me.
You can tell because I was talking to my wife and she was like, well, those, and you're talking about the two guys are going at it pretty heavy in the middle of it. The guys on the outside, the periphery.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, it's kind of like in Major League Baseball. If the bench is clear, the guys in the bullpen, they better be out there because that's code. They might not know what led to it. They don't have a dog in the fight. But if you're out there on your ice, one of your guys is tying up, you have to pretend that you're angry
I saw
at the
some
other
of them.
guy.
They got somebody by the back of the helmet, which I think the Kachucks are always in them. They were in the middle of every bit of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it was good stuff. But just an incredible moment. I mean, we talked about it on the show. It's it's something that I know it's completely different than beating the Russians because the country, you and I remember this because you and I are about the same age. The decade of the 70s, you had obviously inflation. You know, you had interest
Iranian,
rates,
Contra, whatever.
You know, the Iran hostage situation.
We'd had so much negative.
So much negative. And then all of a sudden, in this small little town in Western New York, these bunch of college kids that had 2 weeks earlier got their brains beat in by the Russians in Madison Square Garden. You know, I know it's a little different, but I think in this social media age, everyone is going to remember what took place this weekend.
And we needed it.
Yeah.
You know, we needed it. And, you know, if you can't get excited about that, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the love of team sports, the love of country, putting it together with all the best answers post game. You know, what did you want your guys? And that's what I tell guys, man, let people pull for you. But nobody had to coach these guys. That's just who they are, you know, and just tough and ready and proud. You know, just what we want.
And you look at Jack Hughes in the post game. He's got the half sawed off tooth. And I was asking Pat during 3-man front today, do you think he keeps it that way at least for his career? Because everybody's going to know that face, but I almost feel like that's the signature smile now.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners asked, did they collect the tooth, and should that be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it should.
Maybe so. Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure, he will never have to buy himself a drink again.
I don't think so.
No,
I think he's set for life.
I think he's taking
That was
care
what
of.
was those bar scenes.
Yeah.
People just going crazy and whatever's being thrown, beer, whatever else has been thrown. But that got me fired up.
I mean, listen, it just yesterday, watching my timeline, you had the Chicago White Sox in their workout, their mountain time yesterday morning. So it was a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And they're all in the clubhouse watching, and as soon as it happens, they're all chanting USA.
Yeah.
You had the New York Mets getting ready for a spring training game at their stadium. They had it on their Jumbotron. You had a youth hockey league in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's, you know, some parents, and they're getting ready for a face-off, and they just all go jump over the boards and celebrating with their teammates like they just won. So it was just an incredible Sunday morning.
I tell you that, you know, and I was speaking at a church the other night in Jasper. It was a men's deal, and you know, David Reeves, who was my defense coordinator, was up there, and I was talking about preparation, you know, and that's when you start talking about the things that set you apart, you know, and that's those moments. We're at Legion Field, and it's 6 a.m. There's ice on the steps, and guys are having to pick each other up, and you know, carry people up the step, whatever that is. That's the stuff you remember, and that's what makes these things, that training to get this opportunity, to get that chance. I love somebody had interviewed it, you know, our goal scorer, and he said, you know, when he was, I guess, just got drafted, y'all see that? And he was doing a letter to his future self.
Yep.
And he was talking about the training he'd gone through.
2019, he wrote that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, that's the stuff, because you know what went in it to get to that point.
Yeah, and go back to like kind of what you said, walking into church, and it just depends on what time your church service. But at our church, we'll have the open with a lot of music, and then you'll have the break in between the message, and that's usually generally a time to say hello to your neighbor. Yeah. And so I won't name his name, and Pat knows who he is, but former NFL player, really good career. He admitted he never watched hockey.
Yeah.
But what was his first question because of timing and not knowing, did we win?
Yeah.
Did we
That's right.
win? It was those kind of moments from the White Sox, from people of all walks of life getting behind one cause.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
that's the red, white, and blue.
Well, that's the part of sports we love. That's the part we grew up on. And that's what most people want. They want something to pull for. They love the underdog story, our country, you know, and that was it was pure, man, it couldn't get much cooler than that.
There's no question about that. Well, also not a question is Smart Bank, and those guys do it as well as anybody in the country.
They really do. I think just from being with them, being on the board with them, but just the success they're having, you know, and I think that's going every day. And Lee Smith, Robert Moore, all the people that work in the branch there, and just as far as smart banks around the Southeast, we're one of the top. So just check these guys out; they know what they're doing.
Coach, it's an interesting time in college sports, and a lot of this NIL transfer portal stuff. And I want to go to the high school ranks for a minute because obviously Landrum and I, we broadcast every Friday night. We're very close to high school programs in Metro Birmingham. And we have seen over the course of the last few years that you're getting a lot of really good high school football players not get the opportunities that they used to. So I'm just curious from your perspective, and I know you talk to a lot of young people that are trying to traverse these new waters when it comes to recruiting. Like, what's it out there for, let's say, a kid that might not be that 5-star kid in high school, but he's got talent. He just needs to get a little meat on his bones and get a little bit better coaching, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think you've got to be willing to put yourself out there to different opportunities, such as FCS, junior college, Division II. And now that does create possibly some movement, that I may have to go in there and then transfer, which I hate to think about all that, but I think you've got to be proactive. And it's just, to hear the high school coaches talk about the difference in traffic and the difference in what it used to be, where I could have told you this guy would have been he would have been an FBS player for sure. Now, don't know, and obviously we're still getting some recruited, but I think you may have to go to a smaller school. You may have to go to a junior college and get more film, because that's what they're doing now. They're looking for these proven guys, and they're recycling guys, which makes me, I hate how that's working out. But I think if you're a high school player, you've got to be willing to maybe make a move and to look at a smaller school to get on film, get seen, get some experience.
And to your point, something that I think kind of flew under the radar here statewide, news-wide, is that the state and the study that they just conducted on implementing football programs at state community colleges and what that could potentially mean. And I could think that would just be a byproduct of what we've seen, and seeing that a lot of these kids out of high school, student athletes out of high school, not getting those opportunities and wanting to keep them here in the state.
We've talked about that for years. I've had guys say, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, that would be terrific, just for more opportunity. And now we've got, I was told the other day, we got a prep school down in Orange Beach that's just getting started. Once again, now used to be that would be you would not graduate with your class, and so you were still a high school senior, So more opportunities, more chances. Get seen, get out there, and I'll be honest with you, some of that, when you have to go to a junior college, you will be appreciative. You're going to have to go make it lesser than. It's going to be a lot lesser than some guys, what they had in high school,
Yeah.
But I think if you're wanting to play, if you're wanting that opportunity, you've just got to be willing to do some of those things, what it takes.
I was talking to a high school coach the other day, and he was telling me at the drop-off of the number of visits that he's getting from FBS coaches.
Right.
It's not because they don't have the talent. It's just the formula now is they want older players that have experience. So they're either going to go to the FCS ranks to grab somebody, or they're going to go try to pillage a UAB or a Jacksonville State if you're in Alabama or Auburn.
Yeah, you're going to lower tiered, and sometimes just somebody in the same league, who wants more money, but you're going – and the Indiana formula was the same exact formula we would have all done. I'm able to bring my own guys who I know are solid. And let's just be honest, he didn't have a lot of options at that time. Not that you didn't do a great job, but you went and brought guys you knew you had who would come with you, who were good players. And then you just try and go be selective. But the ability to go, we made a living on junior college players. The hardest thing about those guys were, and I talked about being from around the country, but big thing for them was a lot of academics issues, which was hard, and we just had to just surround them with constant academic help. But we did it, But I think knowing that, you just got, as a high school guy, you got to just be ready. And that's where the high school coaches got to come in and just say, look, it's a different time. There's a way to do it. We're just going to maybe have to go at a smaller level and work our way up if that's the dream. Or you may get there and like where you are.
Is that still as big of a hurdle as you understand it? The academic side, as far as getting those guys. I wouldn't
It
imagine.
was not it was a hurdle. It was still a hurdle at UAB.
Right.
I don't know how much of a hurdle it was at other places. And this was, 2021. We were still a really good academic institution, but recently, you don't hear about any of that. You don't hear about GPAs and graduation rates. I mean, you don't hear about any of that anymore.
Remember we were waiting? We used to get news on a guy's semester scores.
Yeah, if he's
was he
gonna be
going to be eligible
eligible.
for
Yeah.
a championship game or a bowl game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I lived it. Lived all those pieces of it and getting which better for it. I remember we graduated 45 of those junior college guys. I give that number right around. I'm going to say for sure it was 43, 45. That first year where we had that extra time. And I'm like, man, I don't care what their GPA is. They graduate. They have a degree from a really good academic institution. Work their butts off to get it. But you're making sure these guys were eligible. And once they're I don't know. Sounds like that's not even a thing.
Well, now
anymore.
the big concern is at that point in the season is a guy taking himself out of games
yeah.
to preserve minutes for his next stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a
Upside
lot.
down.
There's a whole nother set of worries now.
Yeah.
One thing we don't have to worry about, we're talking about constructing rosters, and that's going to Webb Concrete Building Supplies for all the things you need from a construction standpoint.
Yeah. I was talking to Jacob today, my son who works for Webb, and he said that the builders might not be doing quite as much right now, even though I know we're going to get some interest rate drops soon, but that average the people are. They're getting more from just folks just going out and buying and doing their own deal, or maybe hiring, subcontracting it out. So it just interests me, but Webb Concrete Building Supplies, they got everything you need, 9 locations all around the area.
Also, Donahue Chevrolet, another great sponsor, not only of this program, but your segment during the football season on Jocks.
Yeah, we just appreciate those guys so much. Great Chevy products. You can go on DonahueChevrolet.com, check them out. They've always got deals going, and they'll definitely work with you.
I know you're a busier man than me and Landrum, but me and Landrum are going to miss not being able to look up and see like men's luge during our show. Is there one aspect to the Olympics you're going to miss the most of?
I just love having stuff on,
Yeah.
that you care about and you want to. And man, every night you got something. And then of course, there's just something about the Winter Olympics with the snow and the things that you really, don't think about. The different events. But
Which do you like better, summer or winter Olympics?
I
Or
think
both the same?
I don't know. I think there's just something really cool about the Winter Olympics because it's unusual
See, I
for
struck
us.
him as a summer guy,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah,
winter guy.
But I also see him because he's intrigued with fascination because there's sports that he's not super familiar with, and he is very familiar with most of the summer sports.
Yeah.
Competitor, inquisitive mind. It fascinates you more, probably.
Yeah, and I would say, been having coached track and field, for some years early on, always loved track and field in the summer. But I think the cool factor of winter games and snow and the setting is probably that part of it. Now, there's sports, and we love sports. So
All right, this is a Pat Ponders question that I asked Molly and Landrum, so I'm going to ask you. If I gave you 6 months to train every single day, which Olympic sport in the Winter Olympiad, which one, 6 months, nonstop training, do you think that you could be, I didn't say medal, but you could be halfway decent and not embarrass yourself or your family? What sport?
beside curling?
No, you can say curling.
You can say curling.
of course.
You can say anything.
Yeah.
So curling would
Will
be
you be
it.
on our team?
Sure.
We're
I
putting
figured
one
that's who y'all
together.
picked.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would
Wait, hold on. What do you mean that's
I
the
figured
one
that's
you
what y'all
figured
picked.
that you
It
had
seems to be the easiest
shot at us.
That would seem to be the easiest. Now,
really
Molly,
not.
I'm not talking to you, Molly.
I don't take it as a shot because I look at the other sports and all right, there's no way, and you know where you're getting me on that ramp.
I was going to say that or that. The
I would do bobsled in a heartbeat.
Bob said, you'd be
Bobsled.
one of the members.
Coach, you'd be all
Yeah,
over bobsled.
Absolutely.
Pat would already be in the vehicle.
I was watching Jason Kelsey train at the one in Park City, right?
Yeah.
Or Lake Placid, either one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually it's a lot more detailed than I
I'm
thought.
sure.
But
Yeah.
you would love it because the training,
Yeah.
like the leverage points,
Yeah.
all of that
All right, so take out curling.
stuff.
Which one? Seriously,
I was
six
thinking-
6
yeah.
months every single day.
Yeah, I was thinking bobsledding or I
Okay.
don't know about because some of those others are individual. We need a
Well,
team.
you can do 2-man luge.
That's where you're
Nah.
I don't think that's really.
Well,
my
that's
thing.
I mean, Conrad
Who
wanted-
put that picture out?
that's that's bad on his back.
That was Molly. Molly put that
bad
picture
on his
out.
back.
They didn't do it, surely.
No, that was Molly.
You know how many G's they're pulling on that bobsled going around those turns?
Yeah,
Oh, it's insane.
yeah, they're moving.
They are moving.
I'd have my head down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. I think we were all agreeing.
What about skeleton? You're by yourself, you're head first, but chin has got to be
They're like that far off
it's,
the ice.
it's 1 inch off the ice.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be.
You want to talk about a strawberry?
Yeah,
That head gets lazy.
I think he'd be a good figure skater.
It'd be great. Well, I mean, he's already got the outfits. He
The
wears-
quad.
Yes.
Yes.
He likes sequins.
Landrum, you're a little obsessed with what I had on last week.
He was.
It worried me a little bit.
It worried me.
I just-
You look like you're in a bathing suit. I was like, Landrum,
Which one? What was that word?
when you were talking about my shorts.
Oh, and you're was I talking about your shorts?
Yeah, remember his yellow shorts he was wearing.
Oh,
He forgot that.
I did forget.
It scarred me. So
What? What? You were in yellow shorts?
yeah. Anyway, move on. Next thing.
That's going to do it, Coach.
That ends it.
That I mean, you and a Speedo. I mean, what a better way to end the program,
We need to
right?
cut that out.
Oh my goodness! Quickly, I know you're heading to Tennessee.
Yep.
Big speaking engagement for Coach Safely.
Well, yeah, we're once again spreading the word. Just Georgia. We got Louisiana coming up on March 9th. There, Governor Landry's going to recognize Dr. Andrews, State of the State, talk about Coach Safely. We're going to Tennessee. We're talking to Mississippi Park and Rec soon. Obviously,
Wow.
we've been talking about Georgia. We've just inked a deal with Park and Rec there. Don't want to forget Alabama, though. And the big thing for us, and we really need to spend more time on it, but what's going on with Coach Safely right now? I've talked about the app. We've talked about background checks. We've got that partnership. And the thing we're working on next is AI, where you'll get to hear all these experts we have in safety, and you could go in there and ask a question into the app, something to do with safety, your child, your player. I'm super excited about that. So that's on the horizon.
Good times at CoachSafely.org. All right, for all of us here at the Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Coach Bill Clark Show.
God bless America.
This has been the Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr.